I'm learning history in Cleveland, Tennessee. Oconee Society, 5 Points Museum.
Hey guys, and welcome back to the Curious Curators. I'm Hope.
And I'm Lindsay.
And happy October.
My favorite month of the year.
Same. We are going to get this month started off with some local scary stories.
We are recording this in August, and hearing Happy October simultaneously made me want to cry and scream in happiness to know that it's coming, but also knowing that it's like 6 weeks away.
Gosh, it's going to be like 80 degrees this week. It's going to feel like October. Yeah, October in the South isn't.
October in the South, yeah.
Isn't quite as nice as October in other places where there's seasons. But it gives you like I think October gives you a feeling, you know?
October is a feeling.
It's like spooky. It's like I'm going to wear a sweater even if it's still 90 degrees.
Absolutely. I'm going to drink this pumpkin spice latte. Nobody can tell me wrong.
It's going to be salted caramel season too.
My favorite flavors of all time, salted caramel, pumpkin spice, it all comes out in fall.
It's apple cider, campfires. I love a good campfire. But yeah, so these scary stories are going to be pretty local to our area. I would say like Bradley County and Hamilton County.
Yeah, they're all pretty much in the Ocoee region.
And if you hear this and you're like, oh, why didn't you talk about this one? Tell us. We're always on the lookout for good scary stories and scary places. This is one that I actually heard about like not long after I moved here, and I've actually never been to this place even though it's right down the road. So in Cleveland, behind St. Luke's Episcopal Church, there is a mausoleum for a girl called Nina Craigmiles. Mm-hmm. So in 1871, Nina was on like a buggy ride, a carriage ride, and they were driving over the railroad tracks, which are just over there, I would assume. They lived in town. They were driving over the railroad tracks. Nina was driving. A train struck their buggy/carriage, and Nina was killed, and her grandfather survived, which, honestly, that has to be terrible for him. Mm-hmm. I couldn't imagine that survivor's guilt. But anyway, so they built St. Luke's, a whole church, and this mausoleum behind it. The mausoleum is, like, white marble. It's, like, really fancy. It's really, like, tall, nice. But there's this weird thing that happens to the mausoleum, and it gets this, like, blood red spots on it. And apparently they've, like, replaced this a bunch of times and, like, tried to wash it off, and it just, like, will not stay gone. And a lot of, like, sad things happened to that family as well. Like, apparently, like, a lot of people died quite tragically. So this red is meant to be, like, a sign of the haunting and, like, bloody and whatnot, which I guess is kind of dark. But anyway, we're going to go there and check it out, and we'll tell you more about it while we're standing there. But yes, that is the story of the haunted mausoleum.
I actually drive past it on my way to the allergy clinic a couple times a week.
I drive past it sometimes as well. And
it's there. You can see it even from the road.
It's very red.
I am a skeptic, however. The whole story, the red is there.
Yes.
But the whole story that no matter how much they keep replacing it, but the red comes back up, I want to show me the receipts. I want to see them replacing it and the red comes back up. Well, is that just a tall tale that they've replaced it? Or is it real? If it's real, show me the receipts. I want to see that you've replaced it and it just keeps coming back.
Well, and it's like a certain type of Italian marble. So yes. I know very little about marble, like in all actuality, but I did read about this. And that type of marble does have red veins that can become more prominent, I think, in heat and stuff. So,
well, I think if it always appears in the same spot, no matter how much you replace it with the same marble, that's weird.
That is strange.
Or maybe it has something to do with maybe the way the sun hits it. Perhaps, I've never studied this at all to see when the sun hits certain parts of it, but if the sun always hits, if it is activated by heat, and the sun always hits that part of the arch, maybe that's why.
We're going to have to go at like sunrise or sunset or something.
We're going to have to be ghost hunters and figure this out.
Yes, I can't wait. That's my dream. Okay, well.
I thought your dream was to be Guy Fieri.
That's my other dream. I have a lot of dreams.
Ghost hunting, food eating.
Yeah.
Curator.
Yeah, that pretty much sums it up, my 3 biggest dreams.
So I did a little bit on the Old South Pittsburgh Hospital. I chose this because I actually wrote a blog that included this. This is, of course, in South Pittsburgh. history of the land. So the hospital was built in 1959, and the history of the land kind of goes way back. In 1778, the land was inhabited by the Chiaja tribe of Indians.
Okay.
And during the Civil War, the Chiaja tribe allowed the Union soldiers to use it as a site. This area would later be where the hospital was put, but they were allowed to store artillery and other items there.
Okay.
And it was a very strategic spot. It would allow for them to launch to make an attack on Chattanooga and that surrounding area. However, Confederate soldiers assaulted this area and killed the Union soldiers, the Chiaja Indians who were there, and also the Cherokee Indians who were there at the time as well. And by 1863, the Union was successfully able to take this area back. But enough blood was shed on this land. And the hospital was built there in 1959. And people believed that the hauntings and the strange events come from the people who died on this land before, but also from the people who died in the hospital later. So the hospital was closed in 1998. When a new hospital was built in Jasper, which is nearby. But the way it's haunted is people say they hear babies crying and women screaming. I'm assuming that's from the hospital haunting because it was closed in 1998. So people visiting say they hear these things. I don't think there were maybe from the Indians there were babies and women, but Union soldiers were not usually babies or women.
Well, they probably had like camp followers and stuff.
That maybe so. They also, which apparently have no source. They said this actually happened when the hospital was still in operation. But I kind of debunked that because I dismissed that.
Yeah. Okay.
Because it's a hospital.
And hospitals are
babies are gonna cry, women are gonna scream.
You always hear weird sounds in hospitals anyway, like even if it's a brand new building.
Well, and it could have just been weird acoustics in the hospital. But this is actually a popular destination for ghost hunters. It's been on the Travel Channel, on Destination Fear. It's been on the Sci-Fi Channel, and some other groups. But people who go there claim to see orbs, shadow people, poltergeist activities with objects moving of their own volition, apparitions, doors closing on their own, footsteps, disembodied voices. There are recorded EVPs that are available online. There also is the tale of a nurse who will touch visitors who come to this place. I believe for a while, I don't know if that's still true now, it was in operation as a paranormal investigative. Like, people bought it and opened it up for paranormal investigation and ghost tours. We should
go. That would be fun.
I don't know if it's open right now. We should
go anyway.
The world is in crisis from when I wrote this in October 2019.
Well, like, in all fairness, we could just go and stand outside.
That's true.
Because, like, honestly, I think I'd probably be too scared to go inside, so... But that's just what I'm like as a person. Ooh, disembodied voices. If a nurse touched me, I would just die right there and haunt the place.
I think we should go and record it because skeptic versus...
Chicken.
Actually, well, that's what we'll call it. The skeptic and the chicken.
That's our Halloween series. Everybody get ready for that. Okay, well, I have one more.
Okay.
I love a good haunted hotel because that's just what I'm like, even though I would never stay in one because that's also exactly what I'm like.
I love how much you are interested and obsessed with ghosts and haunted places, but you are so scared.
I know. This one is in Chattanooga, and it's called the Reed House. And so this was actually built in 1843, like the original structure on the site. And during the Civil War, it was used as like a hospital and for both sides of the war, both Confederate and Union. But then, of course, it burned down in 1867. And then in 1871... Mr. Reed was like, hey, we're going to build a hotel here. So that's what they did. They built a hotel, and then it was rebuilt again in 1926. So I can only assume that the architecture is stunning. So there is a rumor that Al Capone stayed in room 311 during one of his trials, and that they put rebar in the doors. I assume so you can't break out. I don't really know. I would assume so you can't break out, but no one's ever said if that's true or not. But also, in room 311, there's a ghost of a woman. And it's kind of a lot of different things. This woman could possibly be a prostitute that was killed by one of her customers. Or it could be there's a woman who died in the 1920s or 1930s, and she was either spurned by her lover and committed suicide, or she was killed by her lover. And people see her, and apparently they have redecorated that room to make it comfortable for her, which I think is, like, really nice.
I've heard that one.
I think that's cute. Apparently her name is Annalisa Netherly. There's no actual record of her ever existing. And there's also a Confederate or Union soldier that, like, wanders the halls. So, which I think that's very common with Civil War hospitals.
Yeah.
You often get...
In the South, I feel like that is such a common haunting. I don't feel like you get that as much in the North, maybe because battles weren't fought there.
Yeah, like, I remember we used to go to Virginia a lot, and there were a ton of houses around Fredericksburg, because there was a battle, like, in town, that there was always a ghost that would haunt this building. I guess it wouldn't even have to be a building, and it's always haunted by a Confederate or Union, depending, like, ghost, which I'm lucky enough to have never seen because I would just die, but we all know that. But yeah, so this is, like, an interesting little hotel. If we were brave enough, I would say let's rent that room for the night, but I'm not that brave, so you'd be on your own. Do you have any more for us?
I do have one last one for us. That would be the story of the woman in black.
Ooh, that is a very famous one here.
Yes, definitely famous here in Cleveland, Tennessee. So essentially this story began over 100 years ago. In 1892, September of 1892, right before Halloween.
Oh, yes.
3 young women who were walking out at night were frightened by a woman dressed in all black. She wore a long black dress, but she wore a man's yellow work gloves. The woman in black apparently stalked people at night in the following months, but she never harmed anyone. She would just follow people.
Which is almost worse.
And search parties were dispatched to find her, and they couldn't. And what's interesting, though, is most people were skeptical that this even existed, but in the March 1893 issue of the Cleveland Weekly Herald, somebody wrote, "That young chap who is disguising himself in female attire and parading the streets every Sunday, frightening women and children, and who is commonly known as the woman in black, and who is destined to meet with an accident, accident, it actually has it in quotes, if he persists in such conduct."
That sounds like a threat to me, sir.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. But she eventually disappeared. Stories of her disappeared in 1894. So I don't know if whoever it was got bored or moved away or died.
Or there was an accident?
Yes, that's true. Maybe an accident. But it reemerged in the 1920s and 30s of a lady in black who parents would warn their children about. Don't go out at night or the lady in black will get you. Those sort of stories to keep your kids behaving. You know, don't misbehave or the lady in black's gonna come and get you.
I remember the movie The Woman in Black, so don't even get me started.
That eventually disappeared too.
Okay.
But in the 1980s, Alan Jones of Check into Cash, he's a Cleveland native, he sort of resurrected this woman in black story and created what we know as Tall Betsy.
Yes, Tall Betsy.
So she would emerge on Centenary Avenue on Halloween night, and essentially she became a staple of our Halloween block party here.
Right, and she's come to visit us here a couple times.
Yes.
She lived here for a couple months.
I wonder if she'll emerge this year, or if she's going to quarantine herself as well. We'll never know.
Well, I don't know when.
Well, we won't know until Halloween.
When she got out of the car here that time, scared me to death.
So there was actually a poem written.
Oh,
and I figure we could finish up with that poem.
That sounds fantastic.
So this was written in. This was written about Tall Betsy.
Okay.
She comes out only on Halloween. On Centenary Avenue she can be seen. Tall Betsy is the lady in black. For scaring night owls she has a knack. Now if you're good and go home early, you won't get it by this gruesome girlie. But if you linger till after 10, we want you to know you are a has-been. 'Cause Betsy will tuck you under her arm, and you can bet that is cause for alarm. To Fort Hill Cemetery she will go, to her mausoleum, with you in tow. Oh. If you don't escape before sunrise, I warn you now you will be her prize. She will have you for breakfast, I do not jest. You'll be on the menu, but not as her guest. Your bones she'll dump in that old well at Arnold School, and no one will tell. Your parents, they'll worry and fret. They'll search all over for you, I'll bet. So go home early on Halloween night, and November 1st you'll be all right. Trick-or-treating is so much fun, but if you see Tall Betsy, run.
I love it.
That's the poem.
I love it. But yeah, so I'm sure we'll come back with some more Halloween-y tales for you guys. But thanks for listening.
Have a good October.
Bye.
Bye.